Welcome to this Operoo training video all about the form library. If you need any help during the webinar or after the webinar, please contact the support team. Up on the top right hand side under help, you can click support. That will show you all the ways that you can contact the support team. Also, if you click FAQs, that will take you to our knowledge base where there are hundreds of articles on how to complete certain tasks within Operoo. Down on the bottom right hand side as well, clicking on the live chat, you can start a conversation with one of our support team. And lastly, you can also contact your dedicated CSM, your customer success manager, and they'll be more than happy to help you with any question that you may have within Operoo. This training video, I'm using my demo account with all my demo data inside it, and we're just going to focus on the form library, which is the third icon down on the left-hand side. Clicking that icon now will direct me to the form library. There's loads of things that you can do within the form library. So straight up, I can see the number of forms I have. So for example, for my parent forms, I have 42 which are live. They're enabled, they're able to be responded to. I have 23 forms which are not live. I have 23 forms which have passed a date, and I also have 137 archived forms. They're just for my parent forms. If you have any public forms, if you're using Operoo for staff forms and student forms, you will have those options as well. Thinking of the form library as your electronic filing cabinet, it's where all of your forms sit. Archived forms, you can still see the responses. For example, I've got an archived test form here for my trip proposal form. I can see it's archived, it has the status of archived. If I click into that, all I'm going to do is click the title of the form itself. I can still see the responses. And under eForm actions, I can unarchive that form if I wanted to. So even if you have archived forms within Operoo, you can still access them as an administrator and you can see the responses that have been provided. When you first log into the form library or first click onto the form library, which is what I've done, you are shown all of your forms on the left-hand side and you can search for your form multiple ways. So you could search directly for the form name in the name field. You could search for the audience type. So if it's a public form, you could click public. You could also click the graphs at the top as well. So if I click my available public, it will then show me all of my public forms and they're all available and they've all come up for me. I'm just going to clear that now. Bring that back to what it was. So you can also search for the eForm type. Now, if you're not familiar with all of the different eForm types, there is a training video that you can watch. It's a very short video, but that will give you more information about the different types of forms that you can create within Operoo. You can also search by the status. So these are all my available forms. I'm showing all of my available forms here. And then you've got forms based on accessibility. So if you're not familiar with administrator roles, please have a look at our knowledge base, reach out to our support team or your CSM and they can explain to you what roles is and how you can set up roles within your account. But I can filter on roles, on forms, I should say, based on a specific role, or any of those forms that are not accessible to me based on role. So I don't have access to any safeguarding forms, so I cannot click into it and see any of the details at all. Just going to clear that filter. You can also search via creation date, when the eForm was created, when the event date is, if you have any event forms, the response due, this is the deadline date if you've set a deadline date on your form. Categories, so if you have categories, you can search for all forms for a specific category. You can also search by who created the form and submissions. And lastly, on the right hand side, you have removed from eForm. So if you've had a form that's gone out and any of those students have been removed from the form, you can see. So if we look at our payment trigger test right down the bottom here on my screen, or the top form, my trip proposal eForm humanities, I can see that there have been 2 staff members removed from that form. They no longer have access to it. So searching for a form, there's various ways that you can search. Once you've found the form that you're looking for, I'm going to use my school uniform for school year 2022-2023 for now. All you need to do is click on the title of that form. So that now takes me directly into the form itself. More things that you can do in here. So straight off, I can see who the form was sent to. So I've got the student, this is a parent form. So I've got the last name of the student, the first name of the student, their member ID, their response ID, the submitted at date, the status, the group, and who responded to that form itself. And if any students have been removed from the form. With these are searchable. So for example, if I wanted to show all of my responded forms, coming down here, clicking responded, I have 3. I've had a response for Abigail, Fred, and Stephen. If I wanted to show all my not responded forms, I've got 10. So it's showing me 1 of 10 entries from filtered 13. I've got 10 students where I don't have a response as yet. If I just clear that, if you wanted to see the response, there's various ways that you can do that. If I click on the 3 lines, there are a few options I can do here. The first of which is view response. So clicking on that, that will show me the response. It shows me who responded to it and when. I can also download a PDF if I wanted to, and then you can email that, view that, whatever you need to do at that point. Whilst on this menu, there's a few other things that I can do. I can also reset the response. So for whatever reason you need that blank response, you can reset the response, and then that form will then go to not responded. You can also respond on their behalf. So if a parent calls you and asks you to make a change to a form on their behalf or complete the form for them, as an administrator, you have the ability to do that. You can also lock a response. So if you didn't want a parent to change it, so for Abigail now, if I click lock response, there'll be a padlock icon here. If I logged in as the parent, I now would no longer be able to make a change to that form because it has been locked by the school. With your locking and with your downloading, you can do that in bulk as well. So you can do it one by one, as we've just done by clicking on the 3 lines, and you see those options. The other thing that you can do is by bulk. So you can select all if you'd like, you can select multiple, however you choose to select those options. This will then activate this actions for selected dropdown. By clicking the drop-down arrow, I can now export PDFs, and with all attachments for those 4 that I've selected, I can lock those 4. So clicking that, it's now refreshed and I've now got padlocks on those 4. Not the best 4 to pick because 3 of them haven't responded, but hopefully you understand that you can lock and unlock in bulk as well. Other things that I can do in the form library, if I come over to my actions here, just on the left-hand side, and clicking show hide columns, I can change the layout. So right at the start, I mentioned that these were the columns as soon as you click onto a form, last name, first name, and so forth, all the way over to the right-hand side with removed from eForm. If I click actions and show hide column, I can change that layout. So I'm going to unselect most of these. I'm just going to leave the first and the last name of the student, but I am going to select the questions in the form. Clicking confirm, this is now refreshed. So I can see straight away, Abigail's responded. These are the items that the parent would like to purchase. This is the amount. The other questions on the form is, do you have any old uniforms you would like to donate? And if yes, what are they? So you can change the layout of the form library when you click onto a form. Any change to the format or the view that you make, it's in effect for 12 months. So you can quite easily come back in under actions and show hide columns and say, actually, I would like to know the submitted and the status. So you can change these as often as you would like, and that's now automatically changed. If you change it and you don't touch it after 12 months, it will go back to that default view. But this is a really handy view for a quick level and a quick view of what information has been provided. Further on your actions menu on the left, you can sort members into group. So if I click sort members into group now, it will show me my groups. So I might choose to sort them into my year groups. Selecting all of my year groups now, and then clicking save. And I don't have my group. I need to come into action, show hide columns, sorted group, put on my sorted group. And here I've got my year 4, my year 5, and my year 6. So if I wanted to, I could then show my year 4. And I've got 1 student in year 4. Back to my actions, you can also do an advanced search if you'd like to. And finally, down the bottom, 2 extra ones, you can export all responses to spreadsheet. So every eForm that you send out, you can export the responses to spreadsheet. When I click on export to spreadsheet now. Because it's a simple card, it will automatically download all responses. If I clicked on that for a custom unsigned or a custom signed form, it would come up asking me exactly what data I would like to export. So you don't have to export every single piece of data for any of the other form types. You control what it is that you export. And also we've got our download responses to PDF. So they're the things that you can do. Show hide columns and sorting, responding on behalf of, locking and unlocking and so forth. Right at the top, you can add graphs. So these graphs are based on question types. So with them, you can show a graph for your multiple choice, single choice, yes, no question type, checkbox acceptance and participant acceptance. If you don't want to show them, for example, you can just unselect them, and then you won't have any. So you're in control of what graphs or charts it is that you would like to show. Under eForm actions over here, I can archive the form, remembering that you can still see the responses for any archived form, and you can also unarchive it if required. You can assign and delegate staff. So we do have a webinar. If you haven't seen the recording, please watch the recording on assigning and delegating staff. You can also duplicate a form, and you can save a form as a template. Card view will take you to the card view of Operoo. So it's taken me directly to the card view. It's sorted into my groups, and I have a legend to see what the legend means. If I come up to the top, I've got my legend here, so I can see what all of those icons mean. And then clicking back into table view, just to take us back into the form library, the last one on the left-hand side is edit eForm. So clicking on that, I can then open up that eForm to make any changes to that form that I wanted to. Clicking back to my form library will take me directly back to my high-level form library view, where I can search for my eForm, click into my eForm, export my responses, see my responses, update a response on behalf of a parent, any of those actions that you need to do. Now, what I quickly wanted to do, I wanted to quickly jump into a staff form. There's a few other details on staff forms. So if I click into my trip proposal form for humanities, you have a few extra options for any forms where you have an approval workflow attached to it. The main one really is to approve on their behalf. So with approve on their behalf, if you do have an approval workflow, the staff member who's approving that workflow stage is currently off on annual leave. As an administrator, you can come in and approve on their behalf. So that form is not then held up in that approval stage, and it can go through all approval stages and be fully approved. The only difference, I just wanted to show you that just so you're aware. So any self-service forms that you do have an approval workflow attached to it, your additional option here is to approve on their behalf. Hopefully you found that really helpful. If you do have any questions, please contact the support team or contact your CSM. Thank you so much for your time.